Welcome to Parenting Differently, where we leave behind the old way of parenting and allow the gifts of motherhood to raise us. Different to perhaps how we were raised, different to how society is telling us to raise our children, maybe even different to how we expected, this is my one, I would be raising them. Just different. I'm your host, Anja Simmons, so welcome. I'm a mum of two big people. My son actually is about to turn 23. When this airs, he will be 23, so that's a shocker in itself. And I'm a yogi, a parenting coach, and I had no idea the gifts of motherhood that would bring to me as I evolved as a person. And the reason that we were raising each other totally blew my mind. I never knew that was even a thing. So I'm super excited to welcome our guest today, Melanie Huestis.
Hello.
Hello. I hope I said your last name right. I realized I've never
You
said it.
did.
Oh, good. I've never
Perfect.
said it out loud.
And most people don't, so perfect.
Good points there. Good points. I realized I never said it out loud. Yeah, so awesome. So Melanie is an intuitive energy coach, a life coach, a Reiki master, and an energy healer. I met Melanie online a bunch of years ago. She's been very supportive of my journey, and I've had some healing with her. And she also taught me my level 2 Reiki. So very, very happy to have you here, Melanie.
Thank you.
And let's just jump right in. Well, it's our first question that everyone gets asked is, who are you and who are you mothering?
Okay, great place to start. So who am I? Like you said, I'm an intuitive energy coach, and in my work, which is a big part of me at the moment, which as we know that oscillates throughout our lives, I love working with women to help shed light on those old stories, the old bullshit, to really clear a way for what you really want to have in your life. I'm a spiritual seeker, I think is a good way to put it, but primarily I love being human. And that's kind of where I am right now, is enjoying the simple things, right?
Yeah.
And as far as who am I parenting? So I'm parenting Tessa, who's 13,
All right.
Shaylee, who is 15, and I'm parenting myself a lot, probably more than them some days, right?
Yeah. Oh, fully agree to that. That's the what it becomes, right? It becomes that.
For sure.
That self-awareness and self-realization and learning about yourself. It's human, and it's also a way of parenting, right? Mothering, parenting, all of that.
For sure.
Cool. So, if we go to how do you feel about how you were raised? Like if we go back to that, so then we can come to where you are now.
Sure.
Now you've got teenagers. I forgot your little one was a teenager.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So how I feel about how I was raised, I don't feel great about it. My father is an alcoholic. My mother is the typical enabler that doesn't think he's an alcoholic and grew up in some pretty bad situations. Absolutely. It's still kind of going on, if I'm being honest. We still haven't found, with all of the work we've done and all of the healing, we're still not in a fantastic spot. I'm actually not even talking with my parents currently. Right. So that is definitely something that I am continuing to work on and to learn from and to open up. It's been a beautiful gift for my own parenting. Being honest, that was one of the biggest things growing up was, you know, what happens in our house stays in our house, and we don't tell the truth of what we experience. And just sharing all of that with my girls, especially now that they are teenagers and they're older and we can have those incredible conversations and they have their own opinions around it. It's been a gift for sure.
Right.
Yeah. Wow. But it's not what I certainly wanted. It's not what I needed. And it's not the way that I have chosen to parent, or I've tried to parent, I think is more honest, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's all a try.
Yeah.
Toss it all in the basket and see which one kind of, I made it good today or whatever.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah. So what do you feel from that, leading on from that? What do you feel your children are teaching you about yourself?
Yeah, they're teaching me so much. It is a big question. And I think the biggest thing that they're teaching me, well, there's a lot, but patience is number one. Not needing to be in control all the time, right? Because growing up, I tried to control everything because that was necessary. And I learned very quickly after becoming a mother that that wasn't working anymore. You cannot control newborns. You can't control toddlers. You sure as hell can't control teenage girls. Oh my gosh. So yeah, it's almost like they're peeling back those layers for me. And then I'm doing the work of healing it.
Beautiful.
Does that answer the question?
100%, because that's so beautiful, because you could not do the work, right? You could also, that's what I kind of always struggle with. Like, I don't know how you then, when you look into the eyes of your little people, you know, how that doesn't make you think, okay, I want to do this better. I want to, let me figure out what this is coming from. But people don't. Parents, grandparents, people who, you know, people don't, which is okay, their decision. But like you, how you were speaking, that it's the realization that you can't control. Patience is massive, right?
Yeah.
And it's the kids that have brought that forward. Like, I wonder where I would be at this point in self-development if I didn't have children. If I didn't have them slamming in my face as teenagers
constantly
every day, you know, or them really seeking the truth from me and really wanting me to be their parent, right?
So I believe that you would still be given multiple opportunities to learn those lessons, to do that work. I feel that parenting is just, it's kind of like a crash course in it.
That's
right?
True. That's good. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
If you don't have kids, and I would say it's pretty even with my close friends. Half have chosen to have children and half have chosen not. So I see a lot of, you know, adults our age living without kids. And they're learning all the same stuff and peeling back the same layers. It's just happening in a different way, a more, almost like a slower way.
Right.
They can work on it for a bit and then take a break. And like you said, when your kids are in your face every day.
Yeah.
And even now, like with what's going on with the pandemic, mine have been home since March.
Yeah.
So I'm like 24/7 with two teenage girls. It's just a lot of opportunity to learn.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? And to practice that patience.
That's true. And I think you're right, because before I had kids, I was already reading certain books or learning a bit more. Tony Robbins was huge back then, and as Leo Peck, all those. And so there was already this curiosity about who am I and where do I come from and what am I about. But kids zoom you right in there. Because for me, I thought it would be just easy because I'd raised other people's children. So I had been around kids and I just knew it. And then I didn't. I totally didn't. Because there was no checking out. There was no full night's sleep. There was no kind of, listen, this is how we're going to, I tried, this is how we're going to do it. This is how the British nanny raises you. And that all crashed. Because I couldn't keep that up. That didn't make sense to me anymore.
Well, of course you couldn't.
No.
I don't know a single parent that can. If you find them, have them call me, because I'd love to learn from them.
Me too. I'll find them on this podcast. That's right.
Perfect.
Good. Okay. So with the two girls, we've sort of had a bit of a conversation a long time ago regarding, and that's come up in the podcast, so I just thought this would be interesting. Like, are you parenting them differently? Like, are you feeling that, like, we all have a kid that we get that seems easier to parent sometimes, and we have the one that's a little harder, or the one most like us that often people are saying is harder, sometimes the one, you know, this whole deal. So do you think you're parenting your two girls differently?
100% yes.
Yeah.
They are polar opposites. Neither one of them are anything like myself either. And I remember when I was pregnant, I would have dreams. I wanted girls. It was boys were not an option in my world. Thank goodness my body went along with that.
Yeah, that's great.
And I would just dream about little me's, right? Little girls that looked like me, little girls who acted like me, who enjoyed the same things that I did. And they look nothing like me. They act nothing like me. They don't like the same stuff. And I absolutely do my best to give each one of them what they need in that moment. And even how I parent one of those kids changes radically over time because their needs change radically over time. So, and it used to, when they were younger, they would complain, oh, well, Shaylee got to do this or Tessa got to do this. And I would explain to them, you're two different people, you're two different ages, you have two completely different capacities for handling things. And that's why. But it was a real complaint and it would spark a lot of arguments between them. But now that they're older, they get it.
Yeah.
Right. They're starting to see that they need different things and they crave different things. And that what I've actually been doing is trying to give that to them. Right. So there's no more of that complaining, which is that complaining, not complaining in general.
No,
right?
no.
Just to be clear.
Yeah, no. What are you doing?
Yeah.
How do you have teeth?
I'm not there.
Okay, that's cool. That's really cool. And do you feel that with your husband, do you both parent similarly or pretty different?
No. So I was going to hesitate to say this, but I'm just going to be totally honest and say it. I don't think he really parents.
Right.
He is an incredible father, but he's the fun guy.
Right.
And when I get upset and I have to, set the boundaries and kind of call them out on stuff, it's the three of them. Oh. Right. It's not the kids, it's the three of them. And I don't think he wants to be the parent, right? He wants to be the fun guy. He wants to be the friend. And because my personality so naturally aligns with, I'm happy to take control. Like, give me all the control I can have, that it actually works out really beautifully because he just defers to me. And we never, ever disagree with each other. Like if one person says, this is what's going on, girls, even if we don't agree, we just support each other. And I can honestly think of one time in all of the 15, 16 years we've been parenting together where he really disagreed with my decision. And because he was disagreeing on that, I deferred to him because obviously it was important.
Right.
But in general, he just goes along with whatever I decide because he trusts me and I'm a real researcher and I don't make decisions around my children on the fly.
Right.
So he just trusts, well, she's done her research, she's tuned in, she's talked to the girls, and he just lets me do my thing.
That's cool. That's super
I
cool.
like it. I can't complain there.
There you go. And did you find with that, so if most of the parenting work is on you, are you pretty good? I think you are anyway, but are you pretty good with your own boundaries around that?
Oh, yes.
Right? Because that would be the part that otherwise it wouldn't work, right?
It wouldn't. Well, I'm the boundary queen. Like, I'm just going to toot my own horn on that.
Yeah, go for it.
I come first. And this is something that a lot of people, specifically a lot of mothers, do not understand about me. I come before my kids and they know that. And I make no excuses because if you want me to show up as my best, I have to take care of myself first. So boundaries, I have no problem with.
Wow.
Yeah. Guilt doesn't work on me.
Yeah, I'm so impressed with that because I certainly didn't have any, or very weak, and they're still pretty wishy-washy. Other than the real stuff, like the things, certain things which everybody knows is a there's no go, there's no option. But a lot of stuff I was super flexible, but I didn't have the concept that I could be first. I didn't have the thoughts that, hey, I didn't know about taking care of myself. This is all when my kids were younger. I just was you give and you give and you give, and then I'm angry, and then I'm fed up, and I'm because I didn't take care of myself. So I like that. And having two girls, you don't have to teach it. You just show it, right?
Well, that's the plan, right? And just to backstep for a second, I haven't always been like this. That's me now. But when they were little, and that's part of what led me to being so strong in my boundaries and in my own needs, is that I fell apart. Right. I was exhausted physically, emotionally, mentally, and I wasn't willing to continue in that way. So it's not that I haven't been there.
Right.
I've been there. I understand 100%.
Yeah.
And again, that's probably why I don't bend on that anymore. And again, like you said, the things that don't matter, of course, I'm flexible on, but the things that I 100% need, those are non-negotiable. And the same with my girls. They have non-negotiables that I respect and I don't bother trying to change.
Love it.
Because you can't be a strong woman and raise not strong girls like that. Do you know what I mean?
It doesn't sound like a balance. Yeah.
No, it wouldn't be fair.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they make a lot of their own decisions that I don't agree with. And I respect them. And if they ask for my opinion, which they normally do, I'll give them it. And I'll share my experiences when I was a teenage girl, the choices I made, what those consequences were.
Right.
And then I say, make your own decision and I'm here for you. And then let it go.
Yeah. Yeah. That's cool. I mean, to me, that's the ultimate, right? That we're open to be there as a discussion as opposed to you decide I'm not in it, but you're also, this is yours. And I know my daughter especially found that frustrating at times, and I'd say, this you got to decide, right, how you want to be, what your life is, and you don't have to make a big decision, but you then have to live with it or figure something out. So I want to be that safe place to land, but she'd say, just tell me what to do. And I think I actually can't, because I'm not you. And me telling you is coming from all my own baggage is coming to my decision, right?
Yes.
you work with your own.
And not only that, but where teenage girls are in 2020 versus when I was 13 and 15, like the one thing that pops into my head first, you'll probably get a chuckle out of this, is showing my boobs, like flashing my boobs, right? And I used to think that was the funnest thing to do. So I'm like, woo, there are my boobs. And there was no proof. You might get a flashing glimpse, but there was no long-term consequences. If anyone ever said anything, I could own it or I could deny it. It didn't matter. But oh my gosh, with social media and cell phones, like you can't make a stupid decision as a teenager now and not deal with the repercussions forever. Like,
that's scary because of how the teenage mind even works, right? You were taking all that's all sort of ramped from how we were. Yeah,
exactly. So I mean, I feel for them. I wouldn't want to be a teenage girl right now.
No, that would be hard, really hard. Yeah, I agree.
Or a teenage boy.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I'm not saying it just applies to girls. It's just obviously my experiences with girls.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay, and so you already kind of answered this, but let's go just a little more in. So how,
Sure.
When you really disagree with something, or the question kind of is how open are you in letting them be who they are, right? That's sort of in there, and then how great are we people, when they're so not, when they're not maybe using a talent that you think they have, or when they're not meeting your expectations and your goals. Like, how do you handle all that? So we want to that's a lot in there.
Yeah.
We're letting, I know, because I got the question and then I'm
trying to keep track.
I got the question and then I want to kind of ask something else. So we're all kind of blended. So I'm just wondering, how do you handle truly letting them be who they are when it would be something maybe a decision that you really disagree with, or you're fearful about, or you're like, no, listen, you're not utilizing this. You could be so good at this.
Right.
Okay. Shall I leave that as a question?
Thank you. That's good. Okay. So this is actually not that difficult for me because of my beliefs. So as you mentioned, I'm a healer. I'm also a medium. I can communicate to the other side, talk to my ancestors. My youngest daughter, actually both my girls have those gifts as well. The one embraces it, the other does not, which again, totally fine. But I truly believe that these girls were brought to me for a reason. I believe that they chose me for the lessons that I can help them learn. And my job is not to teach them, but to keep them safe and give them options. And like you said earlier, be that safe place for them to land. And I truly believe that what is best for them will be provided no matter what choices they make. And if I try and get involved in that, I'm actually making it harder for them. So that's honestly what I believe about being human, about being a parent. So every time something comes up, which doesn't resonate with me or that I am fearful about, I just remind myself, what do I believe? And if I truly want to walk my talk and stick to my beliefs, the only choice is to let them make their own mistakes. And I also fully believe that the only way to raise strong kids is to give them uncertainty, to give them problems and give them that chance to learn resilience on their own. Like, that's what I want. I want my girls, like, if I were to die and my husband were to die today, and my 13 and 15-year-old were left alone, I want them to be able to figure it out. And if I'm constantly stepping in, I'm taking that away from them.
Man,
Does that make sense?
100%. That's like that, my mic drop moment of the interview.
Oh.
Because to me, I would say that I don't even have an emoji of the mic drop. I have nothing.
I have a pencil.
There you go.
Do that.
I have a water glass. Yeah, because that to me is this whole parenting differently. So from your own beliefs, and so mine not quite over there yet, but I know I definitely always would be like, what's the ultimate goal here? That would be sort of mine. Like, what's the ultimate goal? And am I hindering that, or am I not? Like, what sort of, and I always just say to my kids, you know, you got to take care of your own business. Whatever it is, you've got to take care of your own business. There's, you know, whatever that, however that is. And I think it's not fully what you said, but it's in that line of, you know, letting them be who they are, because that's their journey. And I know I struggled really hard with that, mostly with my daughter. She's 19 now, almost 20, but the teen years in that, that was a constant reminder to myself. I had to do the work on me, because, oh my God, I wanted to save her. I wanted to save her. I wanted to protect her. I wanted to just stay with mommy. Don't worry, mommy will take care of it. And I hadn't had those feels even when they were little, quite as strong.
Wow.
And she's a very strong-minded, get out my way, mum kind of person, which was fantastic. But for me, that was hard. But again, like you're saying, if the plan is the human at the end, is the human now, really. I love that your project is Awakened
Human Project.
Yeah. I mean, that just says it all, really, right? And you can't be that if you're holding on tight and controlling, and you can't be that in everything, right? We're talking parenting, but in everything. And if you're constantly leading through fear, which I think many of us are,
for sure,
that's going to hinder all of that.
Yes.
You know?
And also, that's not to say that I don't ever intervene.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
But I don't do it because of my issues, right?
Mm-hmm.
So an example, last week, so Tessa, my youngest, she identifies as what she would term super gay, not just regular gay, super gay. And she's really a very proud lesbian.
Right. Super
Loves
gay.
to just, it's like the first thing out of her mouth when she meets someone. Hi, I'm Tessa, I'm a lesbian. And we love it. And she came to us and she said that she was confused, and she wanted us to start using they, them pronouns with her instead of she, her. And we fully support that. If either one of our children choose to transition to a different gender, we are both, my husband and I, 100% on board.
Right.
However, what she was saying didn't feel authentic for her. Right. And I could feel it. And again, being an energy healer, I can feel the energy, and most of us can. We might not label it that. We might call it a gut feeling, or I had a niggling, or we'll use different language. But when she was talking about it, I knew it wasn't true for her. So I didn't want to jump on board, start calling her they, them, when I knew that wasn't what was actually going on. So in that case, I dove a little deeper, started asking some questions, and it turns out that wasn't what she was confused about, but she couldn't articulate what she was confused about. So that was what she kind of clung on to as an attempt to move out of the confusion. So it's not that I just send them out and don't ever engage with challenging them. But it's, again, when I feel that they are leading that rather than, oh, I don't agree with that, so I'm going to jump in.
Right. That's powerful. That's really powerful, because it is, I know it was my yoga journey that got me in touch with my intuition. Right? It was my being still a minute got me into, I do have thoughts and feelings, and they're not all coming from here, right?
Exactly.
And so I love that you say that there's that, and that's part of when I'm coaching, that's sort of a big part of it as well, is this idea of like, it is there. I know I don't always use your wording, it's so funny, but it's very similar in this idea of what's your real, and I can't find my real, whatever real is, unless I'm still, for me. Unless I'm quiet. Somebody was,
Yes.
I interviewed the other day, she was saying in exercise, when she's running, that she can get right in touch with ideas and thoughts and what matter, like all of those kind of things. So we all have it a bit different. But yeah.
That probably is her being still, though. That's her mind being still. Her body is distracting
Yes.
that monkey mind,
You're
right?
right. You're right. Yeah.
I would agree that we need stillness, at least initially, to start to hear that voice.
Yes.
And then once we're in the habit, it'll still come in when we're doing other things. But
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Wow. Wow. You're a lovely mummy. I knew you were a lovely
thank
mummy,
you.
but that is a lovely, because this is the catalyst for change that I'm yelling about now. I used to be quiet, but now I'm yelling it. This
yell,
parenting
keep
differently.
yelling.
Yeah, because that's how we're going to evolve and change the world.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
That's the only way. We can't just
I want to yell
it,
now.
Yeah.
Yes.
We yell together. Yeah. So, let's go. 2 more questions. So
Sure.
the hardest part of parenting, of motherhood, what was that been for you, do you think?
Okay. So that's probably different, early parenting versus now. Well, no, actually it's not. When I think about it, there's a thread. So it might not be what you would expect. It's not what I expected to pop up.
That's all right.
But it's physical touch. So I am a person, I'm a homebody, I'm an introvert, I'm a loner. Like I love hanging out with me and I don't need a whole lot of interaction with other people. That's just the way that I'm built. And I don't love being touched a lot. I love a good hug.
Yeah.
But hug me, awesome, and then back up, right? And both of my children need touch constantly.
Ooh,
so I had, I breastfed both of them until they chose to stop. And I hated breastfeeding. I absolutely hated it. And I did it for 4 years straight because I was still nursing when I got pregnant with the second one. So there's the literal, hours and hours a day of someone on your breast.
And they're not just on your breast, the hands are
everywhere.
Touch, yeah.
Yeah. And then having them sleep with me again. I don't even like sleeping with my husband. Like I like to be left alone, but that's what I felt they needed at that time. So I gave it to them. And it was even Tessa, my youngest, she refused to be put down until she was 3.5.
Whoa.
So luckily she's very tiny. She's still very tiny. So she was only like 25 pounds at 3.5. It wasn't like she weighed a lot, but I had her in a baby carrier all day long. And I would cook and I would clean and I would do whatever with someone touching me. Right. And even now, again, they've been home since March. They've both chosen to not homeschool, but remote learning, I think is what they're calling it now. Because that makes them feel safer. So I support that. But my eldest, Shaylee, barges into my office about 8 times a day because she needs a hug.
Oh.
I love it. I love it. I love being close to them. I love that they feel safe in having me touch them.
And also being able to ask for it.
Yes.
Right? That's a big one. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I didn't feel safe with touch. And that's probably why I don't like touch, right? Because I didn't get the kind that I wanted when I was little. But it's really tough for me not to get upset. Like, can you stop asking for hugs? Like, can you stop touching me? And like, or if they still ask to snuggle when we're watching a movie. And I'm like, I just want to watch a movie. So that's
been the hardest.
That's the biggest one because physical touch drains me. And then I feel cranky. Right?
Yeah.
But I also want to give it to them because it's such a beautiful connection. Right. That was a really long answer.
No, but actually that's a fantastic answer. That really is. I think it's very interesting when you look eagle eye that you who not liking touch have those that really want to be touched.
Well, of course they do. It's the healing, right?
Yeah, exactly. And mine is a similar in that I actually was better with hugging with my kids than with my spouse or in general. Like I would always be like, yeah, hi people, I don't really want to hug. And then when I did love languages. I read the book or whatever, and the exercises. I can never remember who wrote that, but I spoke about it in another book, another interview. I should look it up now. I have it. Anyway, and it was saying that touch is one of my love languages, and I realized I've been pushing that away because it's too vulnerable.
Wow.
Right? So that was the big learning going, because at first I was like, touch. Everybody who knows me would be like, you don't like touch. And I'm thinking, shit, actually I do. I just wouldn't let myself have that. I felt safe with the kids because I loved hugging and being, I did feel it overwhelming, like the constant touch for sure.
Yes.
But then with no boundaries, it was like,
Yeah.
go hug your sister, the dog. We got a dog. That helped.
Perfect. I have two cats.
Hug me, please hug me. Can I get a hug? I'm begging, But
I keep telling myself that.
Oh,
Enjoy it. It might not always be here. Actually, can I interrupt just for 1 second?
Sure.
So Shaylee, my eldest, again, with all the hugs, I asked her a while ago, I said, what on earth are you going to do when you leave home? Like, how can you survive without hugging your mom? She goes, I'm going to stop by your house every morning on my way to work, and I'm going to get my mom hugs, and then I'm going to start my day.
Fantastic. That is so good. And you'll probably be like, I'll be at the door.
Oh, I'll be like this waiting for her at that point. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. So let's finish with the final question. This has been great. Is what advice would you give your younger self when you first had your first baby there? Is there something that you think, shit, I wish I knew that?
Yeah, massive. And this is something, honestly, I'm still working on the guilt around this because when I was a younger parent, I got angry a lot and I didn't realize my own childhood trauma. And that's how it brought it up in me when I had kids, right? And I would get really angry at them because I thought it was their fault. And if I could tell younger me anything, it would be, it's not their fault. It's not your fault either. It's your trauma hanging out. Like every time you feel that rush. And for me, it was a real, it was an unstoppable rush when these things came up, that I would have loved to recognize that for what it is, remove myself from the situation, given myself that care, created that boundary, calmed down, and then came back and lovingly parented my kids because they did nothing to deserve that. And that's the big thing around parenting that I'm still learning to forgive myself on.
Oh yeah,
is getting so angry.
Yeah. I think we can all relate. I can definitely relate to that. And a big awakening in that is that it's not them, right?
No.
And to be told that when you were a new mom, it would be life affirming, like really change things, that you can keep that in mind. It doesn't necessarily, the trauma, anger is all going to still surface, right? But you have that awareness a little bit to say, okay, that's actually nothing to do with them. That's
And I'm okay even now. Like, it's not to say I never get angry. I rarely get angry, but when I do, it's because I don't want to say they deserve it, but they kind of deserve it. Like, you know what I mean? There are circumstances where I'm allowed to get frustrated and voice that, and I have zero guilt.
Yes.
But it was back then, it was totally different. Yeah.
I hear you. I totally hear you. That's true. And I like that it's, sometimes it's deserving. It's in a place that you're like, it's not coming. I don't have to stop feeling angry. I can feel angry, right?
Yeah, in a healthy way.
I mean, it's an emotion. We must have it. Yeah,
exactly. And also, this is easier to do with teenagers. They know if I do this, she's going to get upset. And then they make a conscious choice to do it, knowing the outcome. That's totally different than a toddler doing something, just learning.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you, Melanie. Thank you so very much. I really appreciate you being on and reaching out and being a part of this, because I think I know that the words that you're sharing are invaluable to people starting out as parents or parenting teens, and having the journey be recognized by, these are the decisions I can consciously make to change the trajectory of my life, their life, the world.
Yes, so, the world.
The world.
That's the key, right? Is when we heal ourselves. Yes, we heal our kids, but we literally heal the world, that collective consciousness. Thank you so much for having me on. And
Very
thank you
welcome.
for you doing what you do, because like, again, the shouting earlier, right? We need to shout this from the rooftops
Yes.
that it's okay to make mistakes as parents and be vulnerable and have these conversations. I think it's invaluable what you're doing. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Melanie.